I was just falling into such a deep depression, and I was like, you know what? Like, music doesn't satisfy me anymore. Like, I don't even want to be famous. Like, I don't care about clout. Like, all these things got to my head. And I was speaking with one of my friends, and I was like, maybe I just want to like have kids and just be a stay-at-home mom and kind of just like settle down.
What is up, everyone? I'm your host, Alannized, and this is Noche de Pendejadas, your favorite podcast turned talk show en donde yo traigo a tus influencers favoritos para platicar y posiblemente sacarles sus trapitos al sol. Hoy les tengo un episodio, amigas, que yo sé que allá en casita están súper emocionadas de escuchar. So without any further ado, please help me welcome my guest tonight, Jroxxx!
What's up, guys?
Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm good.
Welcome back. Para los que no saben, amigas, this is JAYROXX's second time aquí con nosotros, amigas. Estuvo con nosotros en junio del 2022, and I thought it was the perfect time to bring her back to really get to know more of you and see what has been up with you the past 2 years. But it's been a while, and I was like, you know what? Me la tengo que traer otra vez para ver what's up. Antes de que empecemos con el episodio de hoy, amigas, yo le voy a dar el micrófono a ella so she can tell us a little bit more about what she does and who she is.
Okay, so what's up, guys? My name is JAYROXXX. I'm an artist. I mostly sing, but I could rap. I could do whatever. And yeah, I'm based out of California. I come from a really small city. It's called El Centro, California. A lot of people don't know where it's at, but yeah, that's where I'm from. I've been doing music since I was like 14 years old, and I'm currently 22. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
She does a little bit of everything, you guys. How was your drive? Because I know it was a long drive. Hasta casi te arrestaban, ¿no? Like you got pulled over. Wait, do you want to talk about that or no?
Don't tell my dad.
You're like, don't tell my dad. He's not finding out right now. Wait,
Yeah,
how
I
was the
know.
drive?
Okay, but look, to be fair, look, I think that in another life I was meant to be like a NASCAR racer, because my dad himself says, if my dad watches this, my dad says himself that I would be an insanely good getaway driver. It's not my fault. Like, I was blessed with the speed.
So if I need to run away, I hit you up. Like,
yeah.
pick me up. I'm
Hell
about to
yeah.
rob a bank. We got to get away.
Okay, look, like, I speed all the time. My parents know this, so this is not crazy, but I speed all the time, everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes away, I speed everywhere. 9 out of 10 times I don't get caught. Today was the 1 out of 10 times that I it was a cool cop, though. He was super nice.
He let you go?
Yeah.
No ticket. You're like... You're like, maybe a ticket. No, you know what's so crazy though about driving? I don't really like driving too much. So I feel like whenever I do drive, I'm very paranoid. So like, I hate going fast. Whenever my boyfriend, because my boyfriend I feel like is like you, he will get us in a place that will naturally take us an hour and 30 minutes. Well, tampoco, maybe 45, you guys, pero yo ando así, you guys, todo con miedo. Because he'd be like driving that shit as if there's no traffic. I'd be like, dude, chill. And like, there's times where like, let's say you're going too fast y alguien se te atraviesa, I'll be like, hey, cálmate. But anyways, vamos a empezar con el chisme del día de hoy. Like I said, I'm so excited to have you back here with us because siento como que en la otra entrevista te podemos conocer quién era JAYROXXX, the artist, pero hoy quiero conocerla un poquito más de quién eres tú as a human being, de quién eres tú aparte de lo que viene siendo the artist, the rapper, you know, the singer. Quiero conocerte un poquito más. So with that being said, amigas, we're going to go ahead and start off with the question I always start off with. I want to know about your childhood. Cuéntanos un poquito de eso. ¿Cómo era tu infancia? How was JAYROXXX growing up?
For the most part, I feel like I was very shy as a child, like insanely shy. I was just so scared to talk. I don't know why. I think I had a really good childhood. It was different in different aspects, you know, school and then home life, obviously. But overall, I would say I had a very, very good childhood. I'm very close to my parents. Yeah, I was just mostly just really quiet, just shy, and now I'm not quiet, and I just talk kind of too much now. Now my parents wish I was quiet because I never shut up, but I grew up very to myself. I think that's why I'm an artist, because I was always to myself. You know, I was never allowed to spend the night anywhere. I was always kind of like left out of things. I wasn't allowed to have social media. So I was just always to myself, and that kind of forced me to get to know myself at a very young age, because that doesn't happen often. And I got into a multitude of things. I used to love writing. I still do, like writing novels and shit. I would direct like movies. I'll make my cousins act in them and everything, like full-blown scripts. And I learned how to code. out of boredom one time because like I
like
literally
computer
had,
coding.
yeah, like I had nothing
shit.
to do.
So what would you do? Would you look up like how to code online and then like figure it out?
I kind of learned because it was this website, and I used to code like stories, animations, and that type of stuff. And there's like a basic tutorial, right? Like a very basic tutorial. But aside from that, like I kind of mostly taught myself, and I would go on forums and like learn certain things. But I was like 11, 12 years old doing this shit. I just think like my parents kind of being very strict and having me like I guess kind of closed off helped me in a way because it helped develop me more as like a person, I guess. And I got to know myself really pretty young. I've always loved reading books. To this day, I love reading. It's one of my favorite things to do. I would just say overall, like I mostly had a good childhood. I would just say where I really didn't like my childhood was school, but my home life was like
perfect. Great. How was your relationship with your parents growing up? Because for those of you guys that don't know, your dad is actually your manager and your parents are very involved in your career and just in your life. What was the relationship like growing up? Do you feel like you were more of like a daddy's girl or a mommy's girl growing up?
It's funny because like I feel like maybe not a daddy's girl and not a mama's girl, but like my dad's best friend. It's kind of different because my dad didn't have me like spoiled princess vibes. He had me like, I'm your best friend, you know, like I would stay up late every night with him playing video games. So like 4 a.m. we would go get McDonald's. He would be like, shh, don't tell your sister, don't tell your mom. And it would just be me and him. We would stay up watching scary movies. Like my dad, I would still say to this day, we've obviously had our ups and downs because like it's different now. But to this day, my dad is my best friend. And like I love my dad. Obviously I love my mom too, and she knows that. But I've always just been super close to my dad because me and him, our personalities are almost like identical in a lot of things. I think everyone who knows me knows that I always talk about my dad. I speak so highly. I was just talking about him on the drive over here. I was speaking about my dad. But yeah, I would say my dad is like my best friend.
Do you feel like you saw your parents a lot growing up, or were they very like always working to where like even though you already said you were kind of forced to be alone, was that also another factor to why you were always kind of left alone because your parents were busy working?
To be honest, when I was younger, my parents, they would work a lot. They wouldn't get off to like almost damn near like 6 p.m. So all day long, we would be at like my nana's house. And we were majority at my dad's mom's. So my dad's side of the family. And she had no internet until I was like 14, I think. So when we would be left there for after school all the way to 6 p.m., even during summertime, I think summertime all the way up until I was maybe like a junior or senior in high school, we spent every summertime waking up at 7 a.m, and my dad would drop us off at my grandma's house because she would babysit us, but both of my parents had to work. So I never had a regular summer neither. That's another thing. Every single summer since kindergarten to like, I think my junior year, I want to say, we had to wake up at 7 a.m. and they would drop us off. And that was terrible. That was ass. But
7 a.m.
Yes.
Just to get dropped off?
Yeah, and then they wouldn't pick us up until almost 6 because they would get off like 5:30, 5:45, you know, and then traffic, and then to go pick us up. So by the time I would see my parents, it would be kind of like late, not gonna lie. But that was more in my early childhood. As we got older, you know, my parents obviously started letting me and my sister stay home alone with my younger siblings. But yeah, I think when I was younger, I felt like I hardly saw them because they would work a lot.
Yeah.
But they still obviously were extremely present in my life, like insanely present. So I don't feel like I kind of like missed out on anything or whatever. My parents are just hustlers.
Do you feel like growing up, did you feel like your parents understood who you were?
I would say yes and no. It's both. So my parents, mostly my dad, I hate saying this because my mom gets so like offended and she gets so sad. But mom, if you're watching this, I love you so much, bro. It's not a competition, but it's just I'm like so close to my dad. And like I feel like a lot of my personality came from my dad, like big time. My mom even just told me the other day, she's like, you have your dad's heart. Like she literally told me because everything about him, I've just always admired him, you know, his music taste. My whole music taste is because of my dad. The way that I like to dress, he doesn't dress like this, obviously, but inspiration, like I always wanted to wear baggy clothes. It's from my dad. I have a bunch of tattoos because of my dad. Like I just always wanted to like be similar to him. And so I think a lot of parts of my personality did come from him, but I'm also my own person as well. And I wouldn't say it's like my parents' favorite thing. We were just talking about this in the car. Like my dad will like always ask me sometimes too. He's like, Mija, like why do you make yourself look like that? Like you're so beautiful. Like I feel like you're hiding it and this and that. And they don't say it in a mean way. It's just they're my parents. So of course they're like, you know, my mom too. Like
what do they tell you things about?
Just kind of like how I look sometimes or like how I carry myself. And like they don't say it in a mean way. Cause like I said, I'm their kid. Obviously everyone wants the best for their kid. And sometimes I don't have kids, but like I know parents, like they want their kids to be the way that kind of like how they are. And sometimes when they're not reflecting that, they just make comments here and there. I don't really get offended because I don't care. It's like, it's not that deep, and I receive criticism all the time. So it's like, it's
did that ever make you feel
crazy.
bad though? You know, nos cuentas that it doesn't really get to you, but was there ever a moment where you're like, oh shit, like this is how I feel good, but my parents don't see that and it doesn't resonate.
But it's
because
like they just don't understand the drip for real. Like it's not my fault. Like they don't get it, and it's okay. They don't have to get it. They're my parents. Like parents are always gonna be like that. Like I said, with their kids, they always want to make sure, like, you know, and they get scared sometimes because, you know, a lot of like the idols that I have or whatever, like they don't want me to fall into ever using drugs or like depression, and especially the music industry is just like that in general. And sometimes they think like how I portray myself, I might fall into those bad things and stuff, and I'm like, bro, like you guys are the ones who raised me, like that's never gonna happen. I just think that's what scares them. It's not just about how she looks, because I don't think they care that much. When they say stuff now, I don't care anymore. I used to care a lot because I had like very like people pleaser mentality, but lately I've just kind of been doing my own thing, and I feel the happiest like this, and this is how I feel the most like myself. And I think my parents are seeing that. They always tell me like that they don't really care what I do, as long as obviously I'm not hurting someone else or myself, and as long as I'm happy.
Have you always like had this like style? Because I know that you've talked before that you really do love, you know, dressing baggy because you don't want to be sexualized. You don't want people to, you know, see you as something that you don't want to be seen as. Has that always been a thing, or do you feel like that kind of just more grew as you started, you know, growing on social media and you started seeing, you know, these comments or people trying to sexualize you?
To be honest, I feel like obviously every young girl, you start to be like girly things. That's completely normal. I used to always want to dress like this, I think since I was like 12.
Okay.
But I didn't know how to. Obviously, I was a kid. I didn't have my own money. Social media wasn't as available as it is now, to where you can look up style, inspiration, and different aesthetics and all that. I always thought it was cool, I guess, to dress like a boy. But one, my mom didn't like it. And two, I didn't have my own money, so I couldn't, you know, I was a kid. I was literally a kid. And I think I started getting more into that style in high school because they kind of started letting me express myself a little bit more. And then I think when I became an artist, it really just said it for me. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I like to dress girly. I know a lot of people too lately have been like, oh, like she changed how she looks, this and that. I've always liked this style. And if you look back at a lot of my old videos and pictures, I always dress baggy. I don't know why they're associating me with one image, but I like to dress like that, but I feel like more for special occasions. Yeah. Because I don't want to be perceived like that the way you said. I hate it. And I think being on the internet, obviously that's my choice to put myself out there, and I know that I'm forever going to be out there as long as I keep being consistent with posting and whatnot. And I know that forever, as long as I'm on the internet, people are not going to see me as a person. Like they're just not, because they don't know me personally. They don't have a reason to care about me as an individual. To them, I'm just like
someone they see online.
Exactly. And so I'm aware of that. And so I would rather have an image that doesn't even point to my looks, I guess, and people more focus on my personality and my music, because that's all I want them to care about, you know? Like I could give a fuck less being the baddest bitch. I don't care about none of that. I want people to like me for who I am. And that's always been my biggest thing, and I like to take attention away from something that, in my honest opinion, is just not that important to me. Yeah. Like I already know like I'm not the prettiest. I already know like all these things, and it's not a competition, and that's why I said I just want people to like me for who I am, not because
of what they see.
And then it's just that leads to a whole bunch of other stuff, and at the end of the day, I just want people to care about my music. So, you know,
your style is so important to who JAYROXXX is. You know, obviously we see how you dress, your makeup, your tattoos, even the grills. I feel like that all is who JAYROXXX is. And I feel like it also is a big thing for people that see you online that might feel the same way you feel, but maybe, you know, maybe they aren't artists, but they feel like, oh, maybe I don't want to feel sexualized, you know, and that want to dress like you. It also is like, you know what, you can do that too. Tú haz lo que tú quieras con tu vida. Si te quieres vestir con faldita, vístete con falda. Si no, pues haz lo que tú quieras. You know, quiero platicar un poquito de la relación con tus hermanos. What was that? You have one sister, right? Yeah. Or how many siblings are you guys?
Total 4.
You guys are 4. Oldest. You're the oldest. What was that like growing up being the oldest? Do you feel like you had responsibilities because you were the oldest? You almost had to become the second mom to your other siblings? Or what was that like growing up?
To be honest, my mom never put me in that position to feel like, I guess, a second mother. Maybe now, but I'm 22 now. It's way different. I have a car. I can take them places. I have my own money. Like, it's way different compared to if I was like a kid or a teenager, you know? my mom has never, ever, ever, ever put me in that position to feel like a second mother to my siblings ever. If anything, it's funny because it's kind of like opposite of my family, where even though I'm the oldest, I'm like babied the most by everyone, not just my parents, like my nana, all my tias, tios, everybody. Like I'm like the baby of the family. So I'm kind of like spoiled emotionally, I feel like. I've never really felt like that. I kind of feel like my little sister is my older sister. You know, I feel like she's like wise beyond her years, and she always gives me good advice, and she's like probably some people would consider like the smarter, more mature
sibling,
sister. And I'm kind of more like the kind of immature and like just want to have fun and
like still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like she's gonna go through shit and she's gonna learn.
Exactly.
So do you feel like your sister? How old is your sister?
She's 19.
Okay.
We're 2 years apart because she's about to be 20. And I just
wait,
turned
was that the
22.
same sister from that one time when we had your album release party and you were celebrating her too? Oh my gosh, she's 19 already?
Mm-hmm.
So how long ago has that been? I thought it was like
I think
2-3 years.
I was either 17 or I had just turned 18 when that happened.
That is crazy, you guys, which we'll talk a little bit more about that when it comes to like her career y todo eso, but that's crazy. You know, I know you had mentioned earlier about, you know, when you became older, your mom and your dad let you kind of stay home to take care of your siblings. What was that like? Did they kind of, you know, te hacían caso? They were kind of like, fuck you, girl. Like, you ain't our mom or dad.
No, like my siblings are low-key like super chill. Like my sister, we're just talking about her too in the car. We're like nonchalant final boss because she's so calm. She causes no problems. She's like, you have to check on her if she's even alive because she's just so to herself and she doesn't bother me. My other brother's like that as well. He's only 15 and he's super like doesn't really bother at all. I would say the crazy one is my little brother. He's 7 years old. So he's like the newest addition to our family because he was not planned.
Yeah.
And he is something else. He's like all over the fucking place, but he's like my twin for real. So I love him.
Like he's like travieso?
Yes, he's been turning travieso. He's still super, super sweet, like insanely sweet, but he's been turning travieso lately. And I feel like I have like a little son because he's always doing everything with me. He always wants to go everywhere with me. I would say he's the only sibling that I kind of feel like he's like my baby because I literally the day he was born in the hospital, I spent the night with my mom and I've always like taken care of him, but like because I wanted to. Like I would always ask her like, please let me babysit him. Please let him sleep in my bed today. Like please, like I always wanted to be with my little brother.
So when you found out that your mom was pregnant with this unplanned pregnancy, were you excited or what was that like? Cuéntanos de eso. Like how was that like? You know, obviamente your mom had already had 3 kids and then she sits you down and she was like, hey, you're gonna have a baby brother. What was that like for you?
I was super excited. I love babies. A lot of people don't know this, but I love babies. Like I would love to have a baby one day. Like I am so, you know, just to touch on that topic, I feel like our generation is so like obsessed with teaching women that children are bad and like you should hate children and focus on your career, like boss up and you don't need a man and all these things. And I'm just like, I would love to have a kid. And I think that that's one of the most beautiful parts of life. And like, you shouldn't let like social media brainwash you in that aspect because in my opinion, kids are everything. That's family. Family is everything. And at the end of the day, that's all you're going to have, you know, when everything else goes away. And I fucking love kids. I love every time I'm in public and say someone wants to take a picture with me and they have like a little brother or like a baby on them. I literally ask them, like, can I hold your baby? They always say yes. And it's, dude, babies love me. Like, I don't even know why. And like, I always, in public, random babies, like, I just think they're so cute. And like, I can't wait to have a baby. So when my mom told me that, I was freaking excited because like I love babies so much and I always wanted to be around him. I fed him every day like because I wanted to I just loved him. I would always be in the room with him, putting him onto like my music and everything. He was all little.
Do you remember the first time you got to hug him in the hospital? Did you go to the hospital or did you get to see him when he came back home?
He was born. I spent the night with my mom in the room.
How was that? How old were you at the time? If
14.
That he was 4. Okay, so you were super young.
Yeah.
You've always wanted to be a mom then?
Not always. I actually used to be, oh my God, don't even remind me, but I used to be so like, I don't want kids. Like, never because I disliked kids, but because I was like, I don't want to ruin my body. Like, I don't want to. I mean, birth still sounds scary as hell. Like pregnancy, like I like scary, but I've grown, I think, into a more mature mindset about it. That when the time comes, I'm going to be very happy. My mom always would tell me, she's like, yeah, she's like, your career, she's like, you can change it anytime you want. Partners, you can break up and date anyone you want. She's like, but like family and like having a kid, it's like, that's something
forever.
And it's so different. She was just saying how your career is not always going to be there for you. Your friends are not always going to be there for you. Like, it's not, you know, she's saying like at a job, you could be replaceable. Like you could easily lose those things.
Yeah.
And like how I was saying, just family, I think it's the most important thing in this world. It's more important than anything.
Quiero platicar de ti en la escuela. You really didn't have, a hard, childhood up until school. Cuéntanos un poquito, how was school for you? And why do you feel like you struggled a lot through school?
Yeah, in school, I always hated school for as long as I can remember. And not because I was a troubled child, not because I wanted to, cause problems for my parents. It was never for those types of reasons. It was always because, like, I just felt smarter than what they were teaching me at school. And I was like a pretty well-rounded kid. I'd always get honor roll, student of the year. Like I was like a good kid in school, but I never liked it. And I think because I saw beyond that. And I also, deep down in my heart, I always knew I was never going to go to college. I just knew it. Like I didn't have an explanation for it. I didn't even know what I was going to do at that point. I didn't know I was going to be a singer. I was like in 7th grade, but I just knew that I wasn't going to go to college. I remember they would try to make us take like these dumb classes. Like I forgot what they're even called because I never cared, but I think like Avid or something, but it was to help you for college.
Like college,
and everything. And I never did any of those classes. I never cared about none of that stuff. I'd always tell my parents, I just don't want to go. And at that point, like I said, I was very young. I didn't know what the hell I was talking about, but I just knew that I was not going to be one of those kids. I think school, it sucked for me also because like I never related to any of my peers. I still don't.
In what way?
Like it was because of the way that I was raised. Most definitely, it was the way that I was raised. I've come to that conclusion. My parents raised me very traditional. They're very strict, very, like I said, I couldn't have social media. I was never cool ever in my life. I feel like I grew up very different from a lot of kids, and that's honestly what it is, because sometimes it's not people's fault for the way that they turn out. It's the parenting. Like I said, a lot of it goes down to the parenting, because now that I'm an adult, I can see this from a completely different lens. And a lot of the kids that I felt I didn't get along with, it wasn't their fault. They were just kids. I was just a kid. And like I said, the way that I grew up, I think it kind of weirdly alienated me from a lot of kids, because a lot of people, and I hate to say this, it sounds really sad, and it's nobody's fault, but a lot of people don't have good parents, and that's not their fault.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can, cause them to act out. They grow up quicker than other kids. They start doing stuff like they try drugs at an early age. They get addicted to partying, addicted to having a boyfriend or a girlfriend. There are so many reasons why kids end up the way that they end up, or act out the way that they act out. And I feel like since I had parents that were like super present in my life, they never allowed me to even make mistakes, I guess, if that makes sense, because they were so like behind me all the time. And like I said, that weirdly alienated me, because so many kids in school, even my own cousins, they thought I was lame, boring, like...
So tú en la escuela, ¿qué hacías? Like you would just kind of kick it by yourself or with like one or two friends?
I always had like either one or two friends, and when it got really bad, which was in high school, I used to sit alone. It was so bad that my own little sister felt bad for me, and her friends would go sit with me because she was a freshman and I was a senior. There is just a point, I want to say like in my senior year of high school, where I don't know how, but like I was developing really bad like anxiety and like depression. I just always felt very, very, very outcasted. And like I said, even from my own family members at times, like my own cousins. And I just always kind of felt like something was wrong with me. I'm like, what's wrong with me that like people don't want to be my friend, or they just think I'm fucking weird, or like they think I'm like lame, I guess, because I don't do all these things that they're doing. And I just always felt out of place, And I think that's just really what it was. Because at that time, I wasn't that close to my sister neither. We didn't start getting close until she was like a junior and senior in high school. And she was a freshman at that time.
Yeah.
So I felt very alone because she always had an older sister. I didn't. It was always just me. My parents were a lot of the times busy. So I kind of felt like I just like processed a lot of those emotions on my own and not really knowing what the hell to do with them because I was just a kid. And my only outlet I felt was music at the time. That's the only thing that made me happy. Nothing else made me happy. I literally used to sit alone at lunch. And I did have friends. I don't want people to think like I never had friends. I did have friends here and there, but they were never like friends that I had super deep emotional connections with. It was kind of like we would sit together at lunch, had a few classes together, but I didn't have like these deep emotional connections with them the way that I would like to, because I'm such an emotional person. Yeah. And I just didn't feel like necessarily close to anyone. That's when it really got bad. And I just forever remember people at school making fun of me. Well, one, because I was vegan. I'll never forget this one kid. He took a picture of my project because I was talking about myself. You're supposed to introduce yourself, whatever, put interesting facts. And and whatnot. And I remember I put that I was vegan on there, and I said because I want to save the animals. And like I was like I think 14 when I wrote it.
Yeah.
And I remember he took a picture of that. He left my full name out on it, and then he posted on his Snapchat. He was a super popular guy at the time, right? Like football player, everything. He posted on his Snap, and he's like, "What a fucking weirdo, LMAO." I remember, and my friends showed me because I didn't have social media. So like I didn't even know people were even talking shit about me. I'm like, damn, like what did I do? Like I was so quiet. I hardly even talked in school. And I remember he posted that, and like I never liked him ever since that day because I'm like, I don't even know you, and it's like it's just mean. Like for what?
Did that trigger you in the sense of you're like, oh shit, people know of this post? Like you're like, oh, people are talking shit, but like I'm over here just like nothing.
Yeah, and I remember too. I was very like daring with my fashion in high school. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. And I remember one time I wore Fenty slides, the Rihanna Fenty slides with fur on them. And that was before all that stuff was popular. That's when they first came out. And I remember my mom bought some and she let me borrow them for school. And I wore them one time with some crazy ass outfit. And this girl who was also super popular at the time, remember she literally recorded my feet, zooming in, walking and everything, and just like making fun of the shoes. Yeah. And I was just like, and I remember all day, people were staring at me. They were staring at my feet all day long that day. I remember feeling so weird because I'm like, damn, like, is there something wrong with wearing these? Like, I thought they were so cool. And I just remember people like staring at me that day. And I'm assuming because she posted that. And she was also really popular as well. She posted on her Snapchat. One of my friends showed me. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I don't even know people are even talking about me. And just, I used to get made fun of for like singing too. I remember like I used to post singing videos on my Instagram because my dad finally let me get an Instagram when I was around like 15, but it was only for singing videos. I couldn't really like, you know, use it for other things. And I would post them, and I just remember hearing a lot, like hearsay at my school, like people just talking crap about me or thinking it was like cringy. And
you say that you felt like an outcast, but whenever you would see people like make fun of you, whether that's for your singing, your fashion, would it ever get to a point where it would get dark for you?
To be honest, no, because in my heart, I always knew like they're just mean kids. And it's like my dad would always tell me, he'd be like, my dad always gets me through, I feel like, a lot of dark things in my life. I remember when things would kind of get bad, I would talk to him and he would say, you know what, Mija, like not everyone thinks the way that you do. And sometimes people are going through things on their own, like these kids that you might not know about, and they're projecting it onto you because they might be going through stuff at home with their parents. Like, he's like, and you never know. He's like, so he's like, the way that they're judging you, he's like, you never judge them because you don't know what they're going through, just how they don't know what you're going through. He's like, but you have to just always be the bigger person. And I remember, like, that's why I think the way that I do, because of my dad, honestly. Especially a lot of girls fall victim to this, but it's just like such a cat mentality where it's like you always want to be better than this girl. Like, so the society makes us that way. They try to make it feel like it's always a competition and everything. But I feel like since I was super close to my dad, I never developed that state of mind. I don't feel in competition with nobody. I never saw myself as better than anybody or anyone as lesser than me for whatever reason. I remember I had this friend in high school. Matter of fact, this is actually kind of like exactly proved my dad's point. But I had this friend in high school and she was kind of like popular. She was super nice to me in the beginning. And I remember like I was really close to her and she would vent to me a lot about how she had problems with her dad and her mom and dad were separating and her dad was just like crazy and like she was always going through stuff. And I remember I just felt so bad for her and I just wanted to be there for her. Like all the time I always wanted to be there for her. And I just wanted to be the best friend that I could. I tried to invite her to do things, like, so she didn't have to be at her house. Like, I just always wanted to be there. And I guess, you know, in high school, how I told you I used to have crazy outfits. Every single day I would do, like, a fit check. And I would ask, like, the girls in the locker room, like, okay, guys, what do you think of this one? Because I was, like, experimenting with fashion and stuff. And I guess that used to piss her off. I don't know why, but I guess that made her mad. And she wrote a long paragraph to one of the other girls in my gym class. And she was like, oh, she's always showing off. She thinks she's all that just because her parents have money and this and that. And I was like, hold on. Like, it's never even been like that. Like, if anything, I'm probably your realest friend. Because her other friends would get her into stupid shit all the time, you know, drama. I wanted to bring peace to her life because I knew what she was going through. And I remember one of my friends showed me that message, and then she's like, oh, she's saying that she's gonna beat the shit out of you next time she sees you if you open your mouth one more time. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, and I was like, damn.
Go from 0 to 100 real quick.
And then I remember, so it was lunchtime, and then when I seen her, it was the day after all those text messages, she was gonna beat me up and everything, and she was like yelling at me. She said something, she's like, you're so fucking weird, I don't know why. And I looked at her, and I remember telling her, like, if it bothers you so much, then do something about it. Because I was like, let me see if she's about it for real. Like, I didn't want to fight her. She's my friend. But I'm like, bro, like, that's, that's fake as fuck. Like, I'm over here trying to help you. Like, my dad's giving me fucking wisdom, and I'm only fucking 14 years old trying to be like a good friend to you, and you have like all these terrible people surrounded by you, and like, and when she said that to me, I had to stand up for myself, because I would never stand up to her. She was one of those friends that like would talk shit but kind of playfully, so you kind of don't say nothing. And that
you kind
one
of just
day,
brush it off.
and I also brushed it off because I knew she was going through a lot of stuff, so I never took that shit personal. I was just like, that's her way of whatever. And I remember that day, I was like, that was the first time I ever stood up for myself, and she didn't do nothing. She just stayed quiet, and then she kept walking, and we never spoke ever again after that. And so that was proof to me that like you can even be such a good person to someone, and they're just going through their own stuff. And to this day, like, I never hated her. I never talked smack about her. I never, because I knew all the things that she was going through. And I just couldn't take it personal.
You just didn't want to add on to her baggage. You didn't want her to be like, you know what, I'm already going through all this shit, and now you have to worry about you and her fighting. You know what I mean? And I feel like maybe, like you said, it was projection. Maybe, you know, she was going through so much that even people having a good life around her was triggering her and was like making her miserable. But like you said, that's something you can't control. You were trying your best to help her out. Did you ever, you know, confront any of your bullies growing up, or were you just kind of like brushing it off as they were making fun of you?
Yeah, honestly, I would just stay quiet, because I've never been a person who's like drama. I still don't. I just like to just, if there doesn't have to be drama, then just don't make nothing out of it, you know? And I've always been that type of person. So when people would say stuff, I honestly would just ignore it. I'm like, it is what it is. And I always knew, because when I was younger, like middle school, elementary school, I didn't know I was going to be a singer. I didn't even think that that was possible. But when I got older and I started taking music a lot more seriously, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do, I was like, it's okay, because like one day, like I'm going to have a lot of people that love me, and I'm going to be on like a stage performing for people that are going to pay to see me perform. Like I knew that I had something bigger in store, so I couldn't let those tiny little like setbacks really like
set you back.
And like, oh, get to be ghetto and get in a fight with someone at school, and like for what? Because you don't like how I dress, or you think my videos are cringy. Like it's super dumb. I think I've always been like very wise beyond my years with the help of my dad, because he has always given me a lot of wisdom. I remember that was just his biggest thing. He was like, sometimes people are just going through their own thing, and you cannot judge them. And he's like, and that's, you just don't take nothing personal. He would always, always, always tell me that. And he's like, and even if people make fun of you or try to make you feel bad for being who you are, whatever, he would always say, don't rob yourself from the people that want to meet someone just like you. He would always tell me that, like literally almost every freaking day, because I would get so sad in high school, and I would always talk to my dad about it, and I would just feel like so bummed out all the time. I'm like, why like do people not think I'm cool? Like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I never included in nothing? Why am I never invited to nothing? Like, and always just questioning myself feels like my fucking whole goddamn life. And so I think now that I finally feel confident in who I am, and like I do have a really good fan base and people that just like love me for being me, I just like feel like, wow, like all of that paid off. Like I kind of needed that, because it developed my character a lot. Because it's like now I go on the internet and then people talk shit about me on the internet, but it's like now I'm ready for that, because I already experienced people not fucking with me for no reason, people like spewing like their hatred because of whatever they're going through, whatever they're projecting. Like I now take nothing personal. I think another reason why my confidence got boosted as well is because most of the time when people meet me and they become my friend or someone who's a part of my life more often, they always tell me that I'm nothing like what they thought I was going to be like, but they mean it in a good way. And I'm like,
what did they think you were going to be like?
Like, I guess stuck up, a bitch, like, I don't know, like this terrible person. A lot of my current friends have told me that. They're like, I just thought you would be so different. And like most of the time, like honestly, like 99% of the time when I meet people, and we just had this conversation too, like most of the time they'll always tell me, they're like, I feel like I've known you my whole life. Or they say like they always feel like they have some crazy connection to me because of whatever reason. And they're like, dude, like, where have you been all my life? Like this and that. And I just think the reason is because I just feel like I'm always unapologetically myself, thanks to my dad for always teaching me like to just be you, and you'll attract the right people. And I think that's what makes people feel so comfortable, because like I hate judging people. I hate making people feel like they're stupid. I just don't like to make people feel dumb or like left out, because that's how I felt my whole life. And I never want to make other people feel that way. So I think that's like a huge misconception about me a lot, that people I don't know why. I guess maybe just because the way I look.
Yeah.
Probably.
Every single time I've gotten the chance to be around you, I feel like you really do, you know, pure positive energy. Like you have like this aura. I can't explain it, but it really is. Like no es mamona, amigas. Like she really is just herself. And I feel like I know what you mean about saying that people really do feel like attracted to your personality in that way, because you really do make people feel like they've known you for so long. Nos cuentas un poquito that growing up, you know, you almost would ask yourself and your parents why no one liked you, or why, you know, people didn't want to hang out with you. Did you ever feel like the want to rebel to be able to fit in with these other people? Did you ever be like, you know what, I see homegirl doing this, maybe that's what I need to do to like fit in? Did you ever have those mindsets growing up?
All the time. Not all the time, my bad. Let me take that back. Not all the time. I rebelled the most my senior year of high school. Oh my God, that's the year that changed me. Honestly, you're touching on like a crazy topic right now, because I like feel like I like blank out that part of my life because I just don't want to remember it, but it happened. And definitely when I turned 17, oh my God, I was on a sick one. I was on a super sick one. So that's when my parents started letting me express myself how I wanted to. They started letting me dress how I wanted. I had social media. I was finally like able to do the things I wanted since I was like 11, 12 years old, you know? And I remember I started hanging out with some people that were not the best influences in school. And we were like, our friend group was really popular, like super popular. And the whole friend group was kind of like, we all looked kind of like, I guess, like emo, gothic, like it was that vibe. And the whole school like literally knew us as like a pack. And honestly, looking back, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, they were cool people, but they had deep problems that I could never relate to.
Yeah.
And I now realize like those are probably the types of people that my parents were trying to keep me away from, because clearly like you can get negatively influenced by people. Like I said, I don't even judge them. I know it wasn't their fault. We were all kids, but like it was crazy. We used to sit together at lunchtime by the library, and I had this one friend. He would bring he would bring pills to school every day. He would crush them up, put it on his lunch tray, just snort them straight up. And I would be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? And I'm like, damn, like.
During lunch?
Yeah, like literally just straight up right there. And I was like, and it was those types of friends. It was that type of crowd. And it was bad. Honestly, it was bad. From the outside, maybe if you judge my style, my appearance, it can maybe seem that I'm that type of person. But on the inside, like, no, my parents have always raised me with strong morals, have a very strong character. Like, so when I would see that stuff, I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Like,
you're like, where am I at? You're
no,
like,
it was
who are the people I'm kicking it with?
And it's crazy because deep down inside, I knew like these are not people that are gonna be your friends forever. Yeah. But I also was so scared of being alone because I had experienced that so much that it's like I would rather be with people, even if it's at a low vibration, than be alone.
Yeah.
And that's terrible. That's a terrible mentality to let yourself get into. And I remember during that whole time, like, I was doing a lot of dumb stuff, and my parents found out about a lot of things, and they took away my phone for a whole year. So I had to go to school raw. No music, no social media. Like, nothing. I had to literally live in the moment. And that's the year that I think my entire life changed. And I think that was supposed to happen, because when my parents took away my phone, I'm telling you, I started talking to people in real life because I had to interact with people. If I wanted something, I had to tell someone directly. Literally, I even remember there is like this guy that I had a crush on, and I had to tell him face to face. I couldn't like swipe
text
up.
Him,
I couldn't be like his story, nothing. Like I had to go up to him, be bold, and like after talking to him, like one conversation, I did not like him. I'm like, never mind. Like you are ugly just from hearing you talk. Yeah, because he asked me if I had a pen that he can hit in the bathroom. And I'm like, really? Like, I'm over here
trying to be better.
No, yeah. And I was like, nah. Like, and I never talked to him ever again. And honestly, during that time, I got really close to my teachers. A lot of my teachers, I would hang out with them. I would just always be talking to them. I remember I was really close to my English teacher because I loved reading. And this is just a random, like, little side quest story, I guess. But we were reading this book one time about this girl who, I forgot what it was called. The Rwanda genocide, something like that. You guys could look it up. It's crazy. And I remember we read her book, and it was the most tragic story I have ever read in my life. A book has never made me cry the way that book has made me cry. And the author of the book, like, she's seen her whole entire family die in front of her. Like, and I'm not even talking about like, oh, like natural deaths, like murdered, and crazy stuff happened to her, her little sister. She went through it, and I got to meet her because she went to our school. And I remember like I had no phone during this time. And so I had to find things like to keep me going in the real world, like things that meant something to me. Because I couldn't put up a fake personality for social media. I didn't have an audience to play show for. I just was living in the moment. And I remember I just became so attached to like the woman who wrote that book because I just felt so deeply for her. And then when I met her, it was like meeting a celebrity. And I remember I was so mad because so many people were being rude. And I was like, how can you read her story knowing all these terrible, insane things that she went through, like traumatizing, and you're like talking over her, you're asking dumb questions, being immature, because they had a Q&A section and like people were asking her dumb shit, and I'm like so disrespectful. And I remember like she chose me out of all the kids to like be in her news segment. So I came out on the news. They interviewed me and everything. You guys might be able to find it. I don't know, but I was in high school and I came out on the news and we were talking about her story and everything. And they interviewed me about the book and all that stuff. And I remember I talked to her for such a long time after that. And those were just like little key points in high school that I remember so vividly because I didn't have social media. And like I said, I was like interacting with people in person, and like it felt like such a spiritual shift like within me, and I started being less shy. I started talking more. I started interacting more in class. I just was very close to all my teachers, and I feel like that gave me even more wisdom because obviously my teachers were way older than me. And I had one teacher I would always talk to about poetry. I had another teacher, music. He would let me play the guitar in his class. Like we really got along with that. My other teacher, we bonded over reading. Like I just started to see the beauty in the world around me, and I kind of like had this epiphany that there was like such a deeper meaning to life, and I was like, I don't want to be on that like crazy depression no more, and I just wanted to be like happy, and I wanted to do well for myself. And so I think I really needed that, because that the person that I'm right now, the way I'm talking and I'm not shy, like that's only because I got grounded that for a whole year that one time, because before that I would never come out of my shell. I was so quiet. I could not speak up for the life of me, like, and I just think having no social media for a little while, like, it did wonders to my brain, and I needed that, you know, as a kid who you have all this peer pressure and pressure from social media, and it honestly changed me as a person, I feel like.
You started getting into music at a very young age. Cuéntanos un poquito de eso. Where did your love for music start? And how and what would you do at a young age to start kind of pursuing that career?
I started falling in love with music since I was 7 years old. I remember my dad bought me my first little iPod, like the ones without the screens. I don't even think kids nowadays even know what that is, but it was a little iPod shuffle. It had no screen. And it was just for music, and my dad loaded it with a bunch of Eminem songs, like his music taste, basically. Ever since then, I've never taken my earphones out. Even to this day, you always see my mom always walking around with earphones on. If I go out in public, it like kind of helps me, like, because I be getting social anxiety sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. And I just always have earphones on, even if nothing is playing. So that's really where my love for music started. And the story is kind of like dumb and funny, but what happened was basically my dad was watching a boxing fight, and there was a girl singing the national anthem, obviously, before the fight started. And I thought that was like the prettiest song I had ever heard in my life. And so ever since I heard that, I tried learning it. And I would go in the back room of our house because it had like a lot of acoustics. I would practice singing that song in there. And I finally had the confidence to show my mom, and she's like, oh yeah, like, it sounds really good, knowing damn well that she did not sound good. And she like would hype it up a lot. So I'm like, okay, maybe I am good. And I kept singing ever since I was 7. And then so especially like when my dad bought me the iPod, I especially got like way more into music, because what I used to do, and this is so ridiculous, but back then it wasn't easy. It's not like Spotify now, how it shows you the lyrics, and like everyone has a phone nowadays and whatever. Like back then, all we had was a family computer. That's it. That was our only like technology. And what I used to do before we even got the computer, now that I think about it, I used to listen to the iPod, and I would let one line of the song play, and then I would write down what I would hear. That's how I used to write lyrics. And then that's why to this day, I have almost every single one of my favorite Eminem songs memorized by heart.
On a composition book?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I used to do that. I used to live, breathe, eat, and sleep writing lyrics. I used to love doing that. And I used to get so excited. My dad would come back home from work, and he would have printed out lyrics for me, so I would have to write all of them. That was like the highlight of my fucking
So your parents
week.
were very supportive from the start.
My dad, honestly, I have to give huge props to my dad, because my dad has like boxing coach mentality.
Okay.
My dad used to want me to be a boxer. I know I'm getting like kind of off track, but long story short, he used to want me to be a boxer. And he told me that boxing is the best sport because he said it's just like life. You can have all the training, all the coaches, all the best advice, but when you get in the ring, it's just you and that other person alone.
Yeah.
You versus the problem or whatever you're going through in life. And he would always tell me that's why boxing is the best sport, because you don't have a team, you don't have people to back you up. It's just you in there. And he said that's what life is like. And so he made me do boxing from age 7 to 12. And
how was that?
I hated it. But my dad always says that I'm like his strongest kid. He's like, bro, like, he's like, Mija, like, you have the strongest hand. Like, you have such a heavy hand for a girl. His dream still kind of is for me to be a boxer one day. Maybe, or like do it on the side.
Yeah.
Because he always tells me that if
celebrity boxing match. Literally. That would be kind of cool.
My dad would always tell me that if I became a boxer, he always thought I would be like a champion, because he's like, you have such a heavy hand. And like, there's a video of me on YouTube. You guys might be able to find it. It's of me hitting the mitts at 7 years old. And like, those shits are like popping. My little brother is 7 years old and I can't even imagine him hitting that hard. Like, I still am like super strong for whatever reason, but my dad always wanted me to be a boxer. And so I think since he has that mentality where it's like, you have to believe in yourself more than others, and anything you want to do, you can literally put your mind to it. Like, he's not one of those people that just says an inspirational quote but doesn't mean it or doesn't live by it. My dad lives by everything he says, and he's like my example. You know, my dad's a business owner. He started his own business when he was only 27 years old, and he's super successful to this day. My dad never went to college neither. That's another reason why I also felt like I never wanted to do school, because I'm like, you don't need to if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so my dad, like I said, always led by example. And so I think that's why when I told him that I wanted to be a singer, he didn't think it was that crazy, because my dad is the type of dad that's like, he sees above and beyond.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he doesn't even see like the sky is the limit. It's just like, there's no limits. And
did your mom think the same way, or was she a little bit more skeptical?
My mom wasn't like a hater or nothing, but she was just kind of more like, okay, but like, you still have to do good in school. Like
let's
you
be
still
realistic.
Yes, my mom is my mom is the more realistic parent, and then my dad is the more dreamer parent, you know, which is a good combination. You need both of those. You can't just have a dreamer and then nothing ever gets done, or you know what I mean? And like rely on a dream. My mom also kept me in check as well with a lot of stuff. I went to college because of my mom, only for 1 semester though, and then I dropped out because I wanted to be a nutritionist.
Okay.
But I also wanted to be a teacher because I love working with kids. I love kids. But obviously that didn't happen, and I had to drop out because I got signed at 17 years old, and then my whole life changed from there. But yeah, back to what you were saying, how my parents took it and everything. My dad is always, like I said, he's the dreamer parent. So he's always been like, if you're gonna do something, you're gonna be the fucking best at it. Like let's go. You know what I mean? And my dad has never let me doubt myself. My dad has never let the hate get to me. My dad, every time I cry to him about stuff, he's not one of those dads that's like, oh, like, ay, mija, like coddling me like a baby. Like, he's like, you need to be strong. Like, like he has raised me so like to have thick skin, I guess you could say. And I would have to thank him for that, obviously, because, you know, not a lot of people get that, what is it, that wisdom from their parents to stay strong and all that stuff. Yeah, so like my dad, if anything, I should thank my dad a lot because he has never let me quit.
Was there moments like growing up before you got signed where you're like, you know what, maybe this dream that I have won't come true, let me look for another dream? Did you have moments where you wanted to quit and maybe dedicate your time to something else?
Honestly, I feel like no. I think I've always known that I wanted to be a creative of any sort. Yeah. There's one time where I wanted to be a photographer. I wanted to be a movie director. I wanted to be an author. I've always dove into the creative scene, whether it was music or something else. I just always knew that I was a person that I need to be able to express myself always, you know, and to have it as my job is even cooler. But I don't think so. Like my whole life I wanted to be a teacher, but aside from that, I don't think I had any like huge dreams to be anything else, or like really want to cut off what I was doing to be something else, because my dad, like I said, he made me believe I was the best. And like, I know I'm not the best, like realistically, but he made me believe. But
you got to believe that to get shit done.
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to have that mindset.
So because of him, like I said, that's the only reason I was able to ever get any of that stuff done, you know, and to keep believing in myself and to just not let hate get to me and to not let stupid people get to me. I would say my parents have been insanely supportive of everything that I've done so far. My dad is like my biggest fucking fan. And I just feel so lucky to have the parents that I have, honestly.
Obviamente, yo me sé la historia, but for those at home that don't know the story, nos cuentas that at 17, you get signed, which is crazy to think about. What was that like? Tell us the story, how that even became a thing.
Okay, hear me out. You guys might think I'm crazy. Maybe I'm a little bit crazy, but I just feel like maybe something for me was like written in the stars, or it was supposed to fucking happen. I don't even know, because I remember I would do music in high school. My parents would always be like, "And how do you think you're gonna become famous? How do you think this is even gonna work out? Like, what's the plan?" And I would always say, "I don't even know, but I just know it's gonna happen." That was my only answer. Every single time they would ask me, I would be like, "I don't know, but I know it's gonna happen." And I remember, I graduated during COVID era, so I didn't have like a graduation ceremony or anything. Thank God. I did not want to go to that, because I was like, I always had like social anxiety, and like I just thought
I
that
barely
was
even
so
talk to
boring.
people.
And I hated school, so I was like, yes, like no graduation. So I was happy, but my mom was like, okay, but just because we're in COVID, like you still have to do something with your life. I was doing music heavily at that time. I was making all my own stuff. That's all I would do all day, all night, all day, all night. I didn't care about anything else but music. Music was my fucking life. Like, nobody could tell me anything different. And my mom still, though, she's like, okay, but you have to be realistic. Like, what are you gonna do like on the side? Like, you need to have
like if it doesn't work out.
Yep. And so I went to college. I hated college. It was so boring. I felt like it was so pointless. I was learning things that I just didn't even care about. Regardless of that, though, I was still a very good student. I was very close to my professors. I would email them all the time. Like, they were super cool, and I would get good grades on everything, but I just didn't like it. Sometime during the first college semester, I was trying to like dive into like Spanish music. I remember telling my dad, I'm like, "Dad, please help me with this Spanish song, because I'm not very fluent." And he was like, no. He kept saying no. He's like, "No, mija, like I'm busy," or like, "No." And finally one night he agreed to sit down with me to write the song. So I wrote this song. It's called Mi Amor. I was like 17 when I wrote this. Like, I wrote it by myself on the guitar. And I remember being in his room. We wrote it together. I kid you not, like 2 days later, MC Magic was live on Instagram. And I need to tell a story about MC Magic real quick. I hadn't listened to MC Magic in years, because like I kind of forgot about his music, and then I rediscovered him, and I was like, oh my God, like these songs used to hit when I was a little girl. Like, and I started getting into MC Magic, and I remember I listened to him, like binge listened to him for a week straight. An entire week straight. And that was the same week that I wrote the Spanish song that I was telling you about. And I remember, I'm like, I never followed MC Magic on Instagram. So I looked him up on Instagram. And it's so funny, because the night before that, literally the night before all of this happened, me and my dad emailed MC Magic, because we were like, "Here's my music, like let me know like if we could collab and whatever," because that's when I finished working. That's when I finished that Spanish song, and I really wanted him on it. Obviously it was a stretch, I was a random 17-year-old girl from a super small town. I was like a nobody, you know what I mean? And I'm like, what are the odds he would even reply to my fucking email? Like, people don't check their emails that, And I had emailed him the night before all of this happened. I remember I'm like, oh wait, like I emailed him, but I didn't even follow him on Instagram. Like, let me follow him. So I go to follow him, and I seen that he was live on Instagram. So I click on his live, and this is like the butterfly effect or something, because if I never did this, I don't know what my life would have like turned out like. But I'm on live. I was watching, and like he's going live with fans, and they're like all fangirling, and they're like, "Oh my God, MC Magic, whatever." And I request to go live, and I was like, I told myself, if you go live with him, don't fangirl, even if you want to, just show him your music. Like, this is gonna be your only opportunity. And he picked me. And he picked me because he said he thought my username was funny, because my username is antisocial extrovert. And he was like, I just thought it was an interesting username. And so he picked me. And I was like, when you're laying down in bed, like, and you're just like chilling.
Get the fuck up. Yeah,
I got up, immediately grabbed my guitar, and I was like, oh my God, hi. I'm like, can I sing for you? And he's like, yes, of course. So I sang the song that me and my dad wrote. He freaking fell in love with it. He's like, I want to meet you. I thought it was a scam. I'm like, people always say that. He's not going to pull up. He's not even going to message me back. He's going to forget. Hell no. And he DM'd me. And he was like, hey, like, let me get in contact with your parents. I need to see if this is okay. Like, I want to, like, record a song with you. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I think that was, like, unintentional manifestation to the max. Because what the fuck? Like, to this day, I'm like, bro, like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, after not listening to him for years, and then I binge listened for a week. And that same week, I write a song, my first ever Spanish song ever in my life. And then we happened to go live together, and he wants to meet me, and he wants to record the song with me. I didn't even ask him. He wanted to do that. I think
what he wanted to do after was the crazier part, because it's like, okay, I sang for him, cool, whatever. He could have forgotten about it, but the fact that he was like, no, I want to meet you, I want to record, and then eventually sign you must have been crazy. What was that like when you literally have to tell your parents, like, look at this? What was that like?
They didn't believe it. Like, they were like in shock. Like, I remember, I think my mom and dad were eating dinner, I believe, and I'm just screaming. I'm screaming in my room, and I'm like, you guys have to come see this. My mom's like all mad, because she was like eating or something, and she's like, what, like why do you keep yelling? And I'm like, Mom, I'm like, shh, like just look at my phone. And then both of my parents were like, no way. And then I guess he got in contact with my dad, and they set up a time for us to meet and everything. He met my whole family. He went down to my city, and it was supposed to be one song. And when he met me and he got to know me like as a person, and my parents and everything, he really wanted to sign me. And I was like you're fucking lying. Like that's insane. Like just because of one little decision I made on a random freaking like Thursday night, probably. It was so crazy. And this was all during COVID as well. So we recorded the entire album in my living room because everything was closed at that time. And we had the virtual party. That's why it was virtual, because COVID was at such a high and you couldn't do shit. And so my life, I think, just changed ever since then. And that's where sometimes I feel like what is meant for me is like, it's literally, it's written. Like, I think God, the universe, has a freaking plan for me. Like, whether I want it to be that way or not, it's always come full circle. It's always redirecting me to music. It's always come back to me.
What was that moment for you? You know, obviamente, el que te diga, I want to sign you, at that moment, you're like, oh my God, yes, let's do it. But then you have to sit back and be like, okay, let's see what that was like. What was that like for you? Was that scary to sign? You know, it was your guys' first time getting into like the music industry in that way. Was that scary? Was that easy because like they explained everything to you and your parents?
To be honest, it was not scary at all, because you know what I will say about MC Magic, no matter what anyone wants to say about him, y'all don't know him, and I do, and I've known him since I was 17 years old. And what I will say about him is that he's a man of his word. Honest to God, he's a man of his word. And the contract, a lot of artists, I feel like I got so fucking lucky. And this is why I say I feel like this was just meant for me, whether I wanted it to be or not. Like, the universe or God, whoever, whatever higher power there is always leading me back to that, no matter what. Because like I said before, I had got signed everything. Like, I was very unsure where my career was gonna go, and then this just blossomed, right? And a lot of artists, like I said, they get fucked over. I'm not gonna lie. I have so many friends that have got fucked over. I know other artists that are in terrible situations right now. They're in bad contracts. I know people that are fucked for life in some of their contracts. It's crazy. It's a like super tough industry. MC Magic's contract was one piece of paper. It was like one paragraph, and ever since then, he's been a man of his word. And we did exactly what the contract said. It was only for 1 year. But even after the contract was up, he's always treated me like a daughter. He always says I'm like the daughter he never had, you know? I hate that a lot of people assume very weird things about him, because he is like having another dad. Like, he's like a second dad. And I hate when people assume stuff about him, because he's such a good man. And I've met people in this industry, like, they'll just like chew you up and spit you out. They do not care what the fuck happens to you. MC Magic always makes sure like I'm good. He takes care of me in every way possible to make sure that nothing ever happens to Jay. It's like he treats me like a freaking like diamond.
I love that.
And it's like having a second dad, you know? And I've had people assume weird ass shit about our relationship, which they forget that my dad was my manager alongside all of this. I was never left alone. And even then, I've never felt uncomfortable around him or anyone else on my team. They've always treated me like family. And
was that like a no-brainer? You know, obviously your dad is your manager. Was that like a thing that kind of just was made out of nowhere? Like, oh, you're gonna manage me, Dad? Like, what was that like? Because
okay, my dad, I guess technically has been my manager since I was 14, even though I was like a nobody back then. But he was always the one who would like, he took me to a few studio sessions. You know, he went with me to go record songs sometimes. Like, my dad, like I said, he's like has like boxing coach mentality, and he applies it to life. So even though I didn't end up wanting to do boxing, I still wanted to do something else that was a tough game. And he's like, I'm gonna be there by your side. Like, and he literally felt like he's been coaching me through everything.
It's giving like your dad is very much not just a person that says he's gonna do things, but more of like, oh, you want to be a singer? Well, then there's work that has to be done.
Exactly. My dad is not the type of parent that's like, and I hate this misconception as well. Like, a lot of people swear like, oh, like her dad just paid to get her a feature.
Yeah.
Fuck no. My dad did not. Bro, my dad is the definition of you have to work for what you want. Like, he is like the definition of hard worker. My dad has never, ever let me be just like, oh, just sit back and like it'll come to you. Like, he's like, no, he always says closed mouths don't get fed. That's my dad's like, he always says that. And my dad is, like I said, he's never treated me like super like, oh, princess, so like special and sensitive. Like, no, he like, my dad's always been tough on me, but it's like a tough love to make me stronger type of thing, which I now am so appreciative of that as I'm older, you know? And because I can understand now what I couldn't understand before. That's another aspect that I feel very lucky in, is having my dad as my manager for a long time, because that's another thing that a lot of artists get fucked over in. They have managers that steal from them, that lie to them, screw them over. My dad would never have those intentions for his own daughter, you know what I mean? I never, to this day, I've never paid my dad a dime for being my manager. And he doesn't make me because I'm his daughter. He's like, you don't owe me that, mija. Like, you're literally my daughter.
Yeah,
and
that's nice.
He doesn't want me in the hands of someone who's just gonna take advantage of me, you know? And as of right now, my dad isn't my manager anymore. Just because a lot of things got rocky, which we could probably talk about like later. But he's not my manager anymore, but it's not for any bad reasons. It's just because somewhere along this crazy journey, I was like, I just want you to be my dad for now. Like, I don't want to have business involved in our relationship no more. And, you know, it got tough, but overall, like, my dad was always looking out for me. He always had my best interest, and that's all I love that say.
Because I really do. Every single time I've seen you, I've seen how, like, your dad's always like, where's Jay? Let's protect Jay. Like, she's doing amazing, and I love that. You know, obviamente, you signed this deal. You come out with your first album, not your first song, like your album. You come out with a whole album under Nasty Boy Records.
Right.
At the moment it launches, you know, it's kind of up in there. You don't realize if it's gonna blow up, how it's gonna do. What was the moment for you that you're like, you know what? This whole thing of being a singer, a rapper can actually work out? What was like your aha moment where you're like, oh shit, like I'm doing it?
I think when I had hit like 1 million followers on TikTok, this is obviously a few years ago. When I first dropped the album, it wasn't like going like crazy good, like overnight sensation, obviously. I'm still not even that famous. In my opinion, some people like consider like my life like, oh, well, no, you're super famous. But to me, I'm like, I haven't even reached any of the goals that I want to like accomplish, like truly, like I feel like it's like just never enough for me, kind of, in a way. Like I said, I was never an overnight sensation, like still not super famous, just like kind of like still climbing my way up. But I remember back then I was posting a lot on TikTok. That's when my life really changed, in my opinion, because of TikTok. I started posting videos about my music and everything, and they just kept going viral, like back to back, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I just thought that was insane. And then I ended up hitting like 1 million followers, and I started building a very steady fan base. I feel like I have a very loyal fan base. I have a lot of people tell me that I have a very cult-like fan base. Because even though, I know I'm not the most famous artist in the world, my supporters are like die supporters. They're not just like, oh yeah, your music is cool. Like, a lot of my supporters look like me. They like to dress like me. They are like little me's, kind of. It's like I have like a lot of friends that are just like me, and I think that that's so fucking cool. And so like I said, despite I might not have the biggest numbers right now and whatever, but I have a lot of love regardless. And when I started building all that, I started seeing people show up to concerts, because I was on MC Magic's tour, and when I saw them showing up for me, like they're like, we came like just for you, like we wanted to see you. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean? And I just think the fans showing love in person is what did it for me, because I'm just like, okay, you're not just like, oh, some little girl who like has clout and that's it. It's just like people love you in real life. Like, they're buying your merch, they're going to your shows, they're paying to see you, they're paying to go to your meet and greets, and I'm like, that's insane. And that's when I kind of started knowing, I'm like, wow, this might really be a possibility for me. Because I think growing up in a very small town too, people try to convince you like that you can't
make it out of the small town.
Like it's just like, oh, small. They think like small town, you know, small dreams, and I'm like, no, like, fuck that shit. Like, you know, like I've always seen beyond. I think I've known since I was in 2nd grade
that you were gonna do something great.
I had this feeling in my heart and in my gut. I never knew what it was because I was so little. I was like 6 years old, but I so vividly remember that in 2nd grade. And telling myself, like, I just know that my life is not going to be normal. But I didn't know what it was going to be.
And you really do, at a young age, you really do get those feelings. Because I feel like same with me. I wanted to be a professional wrestler growing up. Didn't happen. I was closer to a sumo wrestler at the time. But I really wanted to be like a professional, famous wrestler. You know, I was thinking like John Cena. I was thinking like, you know, I loved WWE growing up and just wrestling in general. And as a kid, I always was like, oh, yo voy a ser famoso. Yo voy a ser famoso. I never knew how, but I would always be like, ¿tú qué quieres hacer? un luchador famoso. O ya after I started being like, okay, maybe I'm not gonna be a luchador. I'm like, okay, yo quiero ser famoso. And when I started doing my little videos que ni las moscas se paraban to watch, everyone, my friends, my family would always clown me. Mijo, mejor haz otra cosa. They're hiring at McDonald's. Like, figure it out. Like, esto de ser
They want you
famoso
to, like,
no
be
se va.
realistic.
Yeah, like, be realistic. And I'm like, no, van a ver. Un día lo voy a hacer, no sé cómo, pero lo voy a hacer. Y obviamente no soy famoso, amigas, but I really do feel like as a child, you kind of have like that feeling. And I feel like that's where like the manifestation starts. Because you can have a lot of dreams, and if you don't like continue working on those dreams, pues ahí te vas a quedar.
And if you don't believe in them, if you're kind of just like, oh, like I wish I could be famous, but that's it. Like everyone has wishes, you know. Like I wish I had $1 million. Like you could wish so many things,
but you actually got to do shit about it. Because I feel like a lot of people get stuck on the wishing.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I have a dream. Pues duérmete,
That's the
mi amor.
worst. That's the worst thing that you could do to yourself, because I once seen this thing that said it feels rewarding and good to talk about your dreams because you get the same like dopamine that you would get from actually accomplishing them.
Yeah.
But you're just talking about them. So you feel accomplished without having to do anything. And then you stay stuck in that cycle forever talking about it because it's less work and just as rewarding.
Yeah.
Because you are kind of like convincing yourself that you are already that without having to do anything.
Or that you almost paint this story in your head like, oh, you're going to be that one day. Just let it be your time.
But it's just like one day. It's like, no, like you have to every day, like make that your reality. You know what I mean? And when I read that, I was like, wow, that was such an eye opener to me because it's so true. There's people that just talk a lot and then there's people that just do a lot. And I just do both.
Yeah, you have to, you guys. I'm a big believer in you know what's funny? I kind of get annoyed when people talk a lot and don't do shit about it. It's like, no, si quieres hacer algo en la vida, lo tienes que hacer. And it starts
My mom
today.
always says that.
Because it's like a lot of people, you know, I have a lot of people that will tell me like, I want to do this, I want to do that. But then when you really see what they're doing to accomplish all of that, they're not doing anything.
Right.
So you just get stuck in the I wanna, but never do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like it is very important que si tienes un sueño, tienes que salir a buscar ese sueño.
Right.
You know, like you literally like, you know what? Maybe he won't reply. But what if he did?
And he
you know
did.
what I mean? Because a lot of people have that mindset. Like, ay, no le voy a mandar mi música porque es capaz que ni la va a escuchar. Pero ahí está JAYROXXX, amigas.
That was crazy.
That is crazy. Quiero platicar un poquito about you being in the music industry. You know, we obviously know. I feel like it's changed a little bit. We've seen a lot of, you know, women make it super big in the music industry, but I feel like it's still very hard for women to be in a man-dominated world. Do you feel like you struggled or have struggled in that sense?
No. I'm like, no, I'm just kidding. No, honestly, yes and no. I think no, because I have a really good team. Like I said, they're always protecting me. I'm so protected. Like, a lot of people don't have access to me. They never put me in like ghetto situations where there could be a fight or people getting drunk, and like they won't ever do that. Like I'm just like the most protected thing to my team, you know, like they will never let anything happen to Jay. And I just think in that sense, I don't feel like intimidated because, oh, like it's a male dominated industry because I'm not surrounded by bad people. But on like a deeper sense, I guess, like socially maybe, just like how society is, it is a little bit more intimidating because I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm gonna just say it. I think a lot of the times for a female artist to be successful, people need to understand it's a business. And a lot of the times what attracts is you have to give a piece of your soul. And a lot of people do that through over-sexualization. And I feel like a lot of these big labels, they take these female artists and they kind of are forced to sexualize themselves and be this person that they maybe are truly not to the core. And maybe it's not who they saw themselves being or who they want to, the image they want to put out there, but it's kind of like, this is the price for fame, you know what I mean? And
it's what they say, sex sells.
Exactly. And like, that's why I'm saying, since I have a really good team, I've never been taught that. And I've always been taught like, you just do Jay, like you just be you and it's gonna all work out for you. And so that's where like I was saying I don't feel intimidated in that aspect because I know that I have very good people around me that are always guiding me the right direction and they're always looking out for me. But in general, it is a little bit harder because, you know, to come out as like, I guess, a female artist who isn't doing those types of things, people really have to just fuck with you.
Yeah.
For you as a person and your music to really make it out. I think Billie Eilish is a great example of that. I really that's why I like her a lot, because she doesn't portray those things that a lot of female artists typically do. And the reason why I don't like that stuff is because at the end of the day, it affects all of us.
Yeah.
So I might not be like that, but because the majority of women are portrayed that way, men will treat me that way because of other portrayals that I don't associate with. And that's why I don't like it. And I always say, like, one of my biggest things is I want to be a good role model, genuinely, because when I go to my concerts, a lot of my concerts are kids. You know, people try to make fun of me and they try to clown me for that sometimes, but I think that's the best audience to have, you know? My fan base doesn't have to be, like, intoxicated or you know, doing some crazy shit to enjoy my music. They're present. They have genuine energy. They're literally children. They're teenagers.
And they also get to grow with you. So I feel like as an artist, you know, I feel like obviously I'm not a singer, I'm not an artist, but when I first started like my career on YouTube, I would get clowned a lot too, because a lot of the people that would watch me were little kids.
Yeah, but people are dumb because they forget that we were kids too.
Like, exactly. Like we grew up with like Selena Gomez, like
Nicki
Miley
Minaj,
Cyrus,
Eminem, like
that even like now as adults, maybe we're not like so consumed in what they're doing, but it still will take us back. Like if they drop something or if they're doing something major, we're like, oh my God, I used to love them growing up. It takes you back. So to me, I'm like, I'd rather have kids watching me too that will grow with me and will be like, oh my God, they're a piece of my childhood. This person brings me back to like when I was 10 and I would listen to her music. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I do see people like sometimes will judge, but it's like la gente juzga sin saber.
And you know what though? I think that people forget kids are just like, I just love being around kids. You know, they have such good energy and there's the innocence, and they just like are genuinely in the moment and enjoying you. And like, you know, I'll walk up to them, they're freaking screaming and they just like, they love you, they adore you, you know? And I feel like people forget that kids are the ones who want your merch. They're the ones who want to go to your meet and greets. Older people, they're too busy. Sometimes money might be a problem, or sometimes like, exactly, like there's more important things to prioritize, obviously, when you get older. And as a kid, it's just like innocence and kids are just themselves, and I don't see it as a bad thing. And since I'm aware of that though, like that a lot of my fan base it's mostly young girls, and it's mostly like, I want to say maybe like 10 to 18 years old is a lot of my fan base, which that's like perfect for me. And since I'm aware of that, I always make sure that I mostly try to be a good influence, because I'm not perfect, not even a little bit, but I'm also aware that I have a platform, and I just don't want to put out something that truly isn't who I am for like in exchange for fame or money. Like I don't care about that. I would rather have like a genuine fan base. You know what I mean?
You know, it's so crazy. When I first started doing YouTube, I think even though a lot of my audience were kids, I would sometimes get annoyed. But let me tell you why. Because my content, if you guys go back years when I first started, I was not PG. I feel like I'm not PG-13. You know what I mean? So my whole intro song was, ¿Cómo estás, pinche pendeja? Vete a la verga, pinche pendeja. Mama verga, pinche pendeja. Ea, ea, ea. And I know all the familia metiche right now is going crazy because I have not sang that song in years. Oh my God, I even got goosebumps singing it because it's not even a part of my intro no more. It used to be my intro for all my videos. And to this day, people like will come at me like, bring it back. Bring it back, bring it back. But when I was going with that, when I was first starting, you know, I would get parents with their kids come up to me at like stores or anything, and the kids would be like, can we sing your intro? And I'd be like, girl, I don't think your mom wants to hear that. Or I would get a lot of moms DM me. I would get a lot of moms comment like, oh, you're too vulgar. My kid watches you. Like, why are you like putting all this junk out and my kid's consuming it? And I would get so annoyed, and I'd be like, you know what? Like, I'm not the parent.
Right.
Like, I would always be like, if you guys go back to my videos, you guys, I will say, I used to be like, I never said my content was for kids. It just happened that a lot of people, you know, started liking it. But then at the end of the day, you guys, lo mal hablado en casa. A lot of these kids liked me because that's what they kind of would see at home. Lo mal hablado. Exactly. You know what I mean? So it's not like I was teaching them anything. I'm sure they would be at their house and their mom and dad or whoever's around them would be talking all this shit. And I used to get annoyed, but now it feels feels so great. And that's what I was telling you. Now it feels so great because whenever I get comments of like, oh my God, Alan, I remember watching you when I was 10 and now I'm in college, and I'm like, hold up. I'm like, hold up, how old am I? I'm like, y'all make me feel old, but it makes me feel good too, because I'm just like, wow, these people grew with me. And they'll be like, Alan, I remember when this, I remember when that. And it feels great because you're like, wow, I kind of forgot that. You make an impact on them that will live with them for like a long time, and you also bring back a memory to their childhood with you. Quiero platicar un poquito about something que te pasó en el 2020. Perdiste a tu abuelito, which later on you wrote a song about him with Rob.
Right.
Cuéntanos un poquito de eso, you know, qué pasó, de qué falleció tu abuelito, and how he really did influence, you know, that song that you came out with.
I feel like I'm gonna cry first of all, but basically, this is where I wish I could just do a fucking documentary at this point, because there's so many things in my life that happened that are so aligned that it's like scary, and I wish that I could tell everybody, because like I want people to believe me, like I'm not fucking crazy, like that, where I feel like this is just so deeply written for me. Like it's crazy because my tata apparently when I was like 4 years old, he would always tell my mom that I was going to be a singer, and she's like, how do you know that? Like, she's literally a baby. And he would just say, I just know. And that...
Wait, before you even started having interest in music?
Yeah, before I even had interest in music. And he just said, I just know. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that's crazy. And he would always tell her that, apparently. And she was just like, oh, like, Dad, like, you're just, like, saying stuff. So that's obviously a huge significance. And then my tata had like his own little band. So he was a drummer. And my tío was the guitarist. And my other tío played the bass. And my other tío did the keyboard and sang. And they would play like every Sunday. The whole family would get together. And he would always make me sing with them. He would be like, oldies. Like, I want you to sing oldies with me, Mija. Like, oldies, oldies, oldies. He always made me sing Angel Baby. I know a lot of you guys know that song. And he used to always make me sing that. And Mary Wells, because that was his favorite artist. Oldies artist. And... my tata just always like believed in me too. Like he just always kind of knew. When we first told him about MC Magic, he was just like, I knew it. Like I knew this was gonna happen one day. Unfortunately, he passed away during the writing of the album, which was in July 2020, the 4th of July. And it's crazy because this is also like weird and dumb, but I don't really believe in astrology or like numbers and all that type of stuff, but the number 4 has had deep significance in my life without me like making it like a
putting
thing.
too much attention.
Yeah, like
to
I'm not like
yeah.
I'm not looking for 4s. It's just like things kind of happen. And so my tata passed on the 4th of July, like I said, 2020, and then we made the song for him, and that was really hard for me. I had to take a break from writing for a whole month because I couldn't do it. I was like,
did he pass just from like old age or?
No, I wish. My tata, he passed from a heart attack. And it's so funny. It's not funny. It's not funny. Oh my God. But like, it's funny because he already had 3 heart attacks before that. And he did not pass away. Like, he literally survived 3 heart attacks. And he survived, like, he was supposed to get his leg cut off. And then they were like, we don't know how, but it's a miracle, like, that you're even alive. They told him that. And that's why it's funny to me, because I'm like, damn, like, he survived heart attacks. And I guess it was the 4th one that took him out finally. And he passed. That's how he passed away. And
how did you find out about his passing? Like, did someone tell you?
My dad told me. He was crying. My dad never cries. I've seen my dad cry like once in my whole entire life, and he was crying. I heard my sister crying, and I got scared because I low-key thought my tío passed away. I was just thinking that immediately. I was thinking it was my tío, but then when I came out, he was just crying so much, and he said my tata passed away, and I was like just got stabbed in the heart. And I think it kind of like messes with me sometimes to this day because he never got to see me perform, and like that makes me so fucking mad. And everybody's like, my fans or my family, they'll tell me, they're like, oh, he's in the crowd watching you, he has like the best seat, he's like right above you, but it's just like it's not the same, you know. And I guess it does make me happy to know he always believed in me though, because that's fucking crazy to call that I'm gonna be a singer at 4 years old. Like that's just ridiculous. But he just said he always just knew. So I'm like, okay, like that's cool. But yeah, I think it kind of makes me mad because he just never got to see me perform, like not even one show. And that sucks bad, but it is what it is. And that really impacted me a lot because my tata, he was just so like, he loved music. He loved music so much. He loved oldies, and that's why I decided to make an oldie. And we used his lowrider in the music video. It's in the intro. The car that little Rob is working on, that was my tata's lowrider. We filmed it at my Nana Tata's house. Like, everything was organic, and that's like my most popular YouTube video to this day, which is another crazy thing, because I'm like, what are the odds, you know? Even little Rob, the collab that I got with him,
How did that happen? Like, how did that come to life and be like, oh, we're gonna sing about my grandpa?
to be honest, MC Magic just asked him, and he didn't think Rob was gonna say yes, even though they were friends. Even MC Magic didn't think Rob was gonna say yes, because he doesn't collab with nobody. Like, he says no to basically every collab that comes his way, and for some reason he's agreed to work with me. He's like, yeah, like, I'll do it. And when he heard the song, he really liked it, and so he obviously added his verses, and then we finished it. Me and Magic finished it together, and I just thought, like, how crazy, like, it just comes full circle, like, everything, because I'm sure my tata would have loved to meet him, you know. Little Rob is so iconic, like, to that scene of music and everything, and it was literally an oldie, and I never, like, wanted to make an oldie, but I was like, it's for my tata, so it has to be special. And I know he would have been so happy if he ever got to hear the song. And I didn't want to make the song, like, sad. I wanted it to be kind of like, so my nana could reminisce on, like, when her and my tata were teenagers.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a love song, because a lot of people get confused. They're like, oh, how is that for your tata? And I'm like, well, I wanted it to not be so sad, like, oh, like, because I don't want to cry every time I heard it or performed it or nothing, so we made it a love song instead. So that's why it's a love song. And it's more of a dedication to him. It's not like about him, but it's dedication to him. And there's a dedication at the end of the video as well. But yeah, I kind of just, I hate remembering, because obviously when tragic things happen, you kind of just store it in the back of your mind. But I just think it pisses me off. Like, to this day, he never got to see me perform like that. It makes me so mad, like, super, super mad, because I just know he would have been so happy. Like, out of everyone in my family, aside from my parents, obviously, my tata would have, like,
loved it.
He would have loved it, because my whole entire family supported, but my tata was like, he's one of those men that takes so much pride in his family. And he used to brag about me even before I was famous. Oh, like, my granddaughter makes music, like, listen to her stuff and everything. And I'm like, you know?
Was grieving hard for you because at the same time you were already writing your album? It almost felt like the start of your career was like a really prominent moment. Was the grieving even harder to do because of everything you were going through?
Yeah, I feel like it was weird, because it's like, yeah, you just took a huge loss, but the universe is like, life keeps going. Like, you have all these concerts, you have all these meet and greets lined up, you have all these things you have to do. And I was like, damn. But you know what? Like I said, my dad, like, always, both my parents always, like, make sure I'm good, you know, and everyone was really there for each other, the whole family. And it sucks. I feel like nothing has ever been the same since then.
Yeah.
Like, no holidays, everything just sucks now. Not everything sucks. Like, no shade to my family. Like, I love my family. They know.
But it is you feel the
just
difference.
So different, because, like, you realize how much someone really holds it down, I guess, when they're not there no more. And everything is just so different now, and I hate it, and it sucks, but it is what it is. And I feel like, I mean, obviously it was a lot harder on my mom, because that was her dad. It was hard on us too, but it was way more hard for her,
because she lost a parent,
right? And, like, so we were mostly there for her. And I feel like since my life, it sucks. Yeah, you're grieving, but I was also being rewarded with so many blessings as well. It's like, okay, now you just have to move forward. Like, you can't just be depressed about this one thing. Like, your tata would be mad if you did that, like, because you're missing out on all these opportunities. And
that's how I feel exactly, because every single time I get sad, I feel like there's times where I don't even have time to be sad because of how busy I am. Busy, yeah. And I always think about him. I'm like, you know what? This is what he would have wanted.
Right.
Quiero platicar un poquito más about something that happened this year. In July of this year, you took a huge break from social media that left a lot of your supporters wondering where you had gone. Why was this break? You know, you stopped producing music, you stopped doing content. If you feel comfortable, cuéntanos un poquito qué pasó durante ese tiempo.
To be honest, I just feel like I have gone through, like, a lot of stuff in my career. And even though I'm, like, very, very blessed, and I feel so lucky to have the people that I have around me, and to not be put in, like, these terrible situations and stuff, I would still get frustrated. You know, it's like you're putting in all this hard work, trying to be a good person at the same time, trying to be a good role model. and your whole life just feels like work, work, work. You're slaving away to everything that you do, putting passion into everything that you do. And I'm just like, it's just not paying off the way that I wanted it to, you know? And not only that, but like I feel like I was kind of going through just like a whole identity crisis as well. Like I felt like I lost who I was. I just didn't know who I was anymore. Like I don't really like want to touch on this topic, but this is also like a part of why this happened. But you know, like I went through a pretty bad breakup, and that affected me a lot. And then trying to just hold everything else down, like it's just so many things were coming at me, I feel like, at once. And I just completely lost myself. I lost my love for music. I just didn't even want to do it anymore. Like there was so much hatred every time I'll post. It's just like people hating on me, and they would say stuff like, oh, you fell off, like, you know, stuff like that. And I'm just like, all right, bro. And I'm like, well, maybe I low-key kind of did, like, you know. And I just stopped posting for a long time because I think what I needed more than anything was a peace of mind. Yeah. And that was more important than whatever else was going on at the time. And I remember my parents were so scared. They're like, what are you gonna do? Like,
you've worked so hard.
Why did you put everything on hold? Like, you're losing followers. Like, they were just worried. They weren't like, my parents are not crazy, like money hungry or clout chaser type of parents. They were worried because they were noticing that, you know, I was losing a lot of followers. I was just posting less and less. I was not doing anything music related whatsoever. I was just very unhappy in that time of my life, like insanely unhappy. And I was like, maybe I just need to get away from everything, from everybody. But my parents were like pretty worried because I just lost love for everything, I think, that I cared about. Even myself, like I just was in such a state of like, I do not care. And I just did not know what I wanted to do with my life. I just didn't know anything. I was unsure of everything. And I distanced myself from MC Magic. I distanced myself from a lot of my friends, from basically everybody. I was just so mentally checked out, I feel like. Yeah. And this is the part where it was crazy because it was the 4th year since my tata had passed, and it was the 4th of July. And that night, it was so crazy. I had random inspiration. I hadn't written anything in months. Like I said, I was losing my spark for me. I didn't even want to do music anymore. And I remember I went home that night and I wrote a song, like full-blown song, with like such ease. And I think it's a really good song too. And then the next day I wrote another one, and then another one, and then another one. So it was back to back, right? Yeah. 4 songs, 4 days. And they're all so unique. They're all like so beautiful. They're unreleased as of right now. But I remember I was like, I felt like I was on a high. Yeah. Like for you to understand it, I guess for an artist, when you have like a streak of writing good songs organically, you're not forcing yourself, you're not listening to different beats and you're getting tired of hearing them. Like it was so organic. And it felt like I had a freaking fairy godmother that just gave me like magic to just write songs. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? And back to back to back. And I remember that I was like, hold the fuck on. Like maybe like I should start pursuing the music stuff again. Like I should really start to take this serious again. So then I had a spark in me that I hadn't even seen in myself in months. My parents, nobody had seen it in months. And I feel like it kind of gave me my spark back. And so I'm working on these songs. I did music videos for them. I was just really tapping back into all that stuff, you know? And then I came back to social media officially, I want to say like around October, around my birthday. And that's when I really started pushing everything. And it was just so crazy because even recently with my recent stuff, the story with what recently has been happening is insane too. Because that little spark that I had on 4th of July, if I didn't have that, I would probably be like all depressed right now. I don't know what the fuck. Like, I just don't even know what I would be doing with my life if that specific day like didn't happen the way everything happened. Because in the month of October, it's like I said, is kind of when I came back to social media, and I was like, okay, like it's time to drop a project. Like I'm back. I feel alive. I feel better than ever. I'm so excited to like show my fans my new stuff that I've been working on. Then I got sick. I get really sick. Like I had to go to the hospital. They did not know what was wrong with me. To this day, they still don't know what was wrong with me. But I got sick for 3 weeks straight. Oh, shit. Like every day I was waking up with extreme fatigue. My eyes were so puffy, like both of them, and it was crazy. And I was super, super sick. And we didn't know why. And I was very mad because that was the month that I wanted to drop my album.
Yeah.
I was like, this is going to be my birthday album. This is going to like revive everything. It's going to give my fans new content, new music, everything. And then I get sick and I was like, oh my God, like maybe this is a sign from the universe that like I just shouldn't do it then. Like, and I was so depressed those 3 weeks because like I couldn't eat nothing. I felt like I had like glass in my throat. I had like the worst, craziest, randomest symptoms ever. And I could barely talk. I was just tired all day long and it sucked. It sucked really bad. And I honestly thought I was gonna die. Like, cause my mom was crying every single day, like when I was sick. And she thought that I don't think that she thought I was gonna die, but I thought I was gonna die. And especially because she would be crying all the time. And I'm like, damn, like, do you know something that I don't? Like, are you like not telling me about something? And I was like really scared. And I was scared, yeah, because I just thought I was gonna die. And I'm like, damn, like I didn't even get to live out like my career and all these things. And I was paranoid. And eventually it just passed. Like I let it pass. And I was like, fuck it. Now I have to drop the album in November. It is what it is. I was super, super, super mad about it. But I'm like, whatever. So I would post videos trying to promote my new music and everything. And they weren't even doing that good. Like my momentum was so down. I was struggling to like get 10,000 views. It was bad. And it was very like unmotivating to see that. But I was like, you know, just keep it pushing. Like just keep going. Like just keep going. This is another moment that kind of changed everything for me. Was when one day I was doing a bunch of videos promoting my music. And the videos did really bad, not gonna lie. And I was just in my room and we were about to go somewhere, I don't know, to a store or something. And I was waiting for my sister. She was taking like really long to get ready. So I'm like, okay, might as well post some TikToks. In the meantime, I'm just waiting for her. I have nothing to do. Bro, I covered Moonlight by X because it was stuck in my head. I was like, let me just cover it. And I just didn't take it so seriously because I was like thinking that people were going to think the video was more funny than like me being for reals.
Or people weren't going to see it.
Yeah, like I just didn't think nothing of it. And I even told myself, I literally told myself, I was like, please, like, don't, like, blow up or nothing because, like, they're going to clown me. Like, they're going to make fun of me. And I ended up forgetting about it because we left the house. I wake up the next day, it has 1 million views. And I was like, no. And I was so scared. Back. And I was so scared to open the comment section because I'm like, I just know they're talking shit. I was so fucking scared. I opened my comment section. It's all positive comments. And I'm like, no fucking way. This is not real. And then by the end of that night, the video had like, I think 3 million views. And I was just like, no way. And every day it would just hit another 1 million, 2 million. And it kept going crazy. And I wish I had the timeline perfectly set in my head to tell you how all this happened for you to understand my disbelief. And like, there's no fucking way. Because literally like, I think 2 days before that happened, I sat down on the couch in the living room. My dad was right there. And he goes, Mia, he's like, what are you doing with your life? Like, what are you going to do? Like, you've been working on like music videos and whatever. He's like, but what about your social media? Like, how are you going to make money? Like your streams? He was like on my shit. And I was so annoyed. I was so mad. I'm like, damn, like I can't even just breathe. Like, cause everything's always about what am I going to do with my life? And that's when I was still kind of going through that little rough patch. And I was so mad. And I was like, Dad, you don't even know like my life. Like, I don't tell you everything. Like, I was like, I literally have a music video shoot this weekend. Like, you don't even know and blah, blah, blah. And I was so mad, right? And the said music video shoot that I was talking about, I was literally going to cancel it that day because I was like, you're not doing good on TikTok. You have no momentum as an artist. It doesn't make sense to invest these thousands of dollars into a music video if nobody's even going to watch it. Like, I was just thinking it would have been a waste of money to do this music video. So I was going to cancel it that day that my dad told me that. And since he told me that out of frustration, I was like, you don't even know what I have going on. Like, I have a music video this weekend. And so because of that, I didn't cancel the music video. And then like a day or two later, the Moonlight video started going viral. And then throughout that whole week, I kept posting more videos, more covers. They all kept going freaking viral, like back to back to back to back to back. And I was like, what the fuck? So by the time it got to the day of the music video shoot, I was like, I need to drop this song ASAP. Like, I have momentum. Like, I'm not fucking stupid. When you're an artist and you get momentum, you always have to utilize it to the max because not everybody gets that opportunity, especially since I had been in such a rough spot for a very long time. And so I took advantage of it. I started promoting myself and I started talking about myself because everyone in the comments was like, you need to be an artist, you need to make music. And I was like, I am, like I've been. And so I started,
it was like new people that were finding you, right? Okay.
And I started plugging my shit. And so when I dropped the most recent song, which is You Are My Star, which is the music video that I was doing, which I was never going to originally do only because I got mad at my dad. When I dropped that song, we hit 100,000 streams so fucking fast. Like none of my other songs have ever streamed that fast. We hit 1 million in like 3.5 weeks, I think. That's never happened to me before with any of my songs. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, if this is not the biggest sign ever, I really don't know what is. Because like I said, I was in a very dark, miserable state of mind. And when I finally shifted all that misery and all that energy and everything just like to myself and for something positive, wow, did I fucking get paid back like tenfold, because I just was not expecting any of that to happen. And ever since then, a lot of my stuff has been doing really good. My recent project that I just dropped has been doing really good. I had an album release party / concert that did really, really good. We almost sold out on the tickets, and I actually did it it's a small town called Brawley. That's not my hometown, like where I grew up, but it's literally like 20 minutes away from it. Because the venue I had it at, they're like close family friends, and they've always wanted to host something for me. So I'm like, fuck it, let's do my album release party here, like hometown, have everybody from my city like pull up, like friends, family, whoever wants to go. And I was so scared. I was like that I wasn't gonna sell any tickets because I hadn't done a concert in a long time. I had, like I said, I had no momentum before that, and I was very scared on what my future was gonna look like. And I was so scared. I had so much anxiety planning that event because I did everything. I planned all of it. I invested all my money, not all my money, but I invested a lot of money into setting that up. These past few months, all my money has only been going to my music career and literally nothing else. Like, I have just been investing in myself because I'm technically not with the label anymore, you know? Like, Magic is always there for me, but it's not like he's like my freaking bank account and I'm just asking him for money. Like, nobody has been helping me financially with these recent projects. So it feels so good to be rewarded, like my hard work and everything that I put into it and all these things that I kind of had to go through to, I guess, see all this great stuff that's been happening. And that's when I tell you, like, I literally feel like the universe is just telling me, like, Jay, like, this is what's meant for you. And that video, the first one that I posted, is at like 21 or 22 million right now. That's
crazy.
And I've had multiple videos after that go viral too. Like, I'm talking like 18 million views. Like, I always say this, I know I'm not the best singer. Sometimes I even wonder, like, why the videos blow up, because I'm like, they're not like that good.
You're like, this is not even my best work.
Yeah, it's not my best. But I just believe that if I just keep saying, like, authentic to myself and just kind of doing the things that I like, it's all gonna pay off. And it's funny because a lot of my listeners now are not from the United States. I have apparently a big fan base in the UK now.
Oh, shit.
And some of the most popular places is the UK, Germany, Czech Republic, like Sweden, like random ass places like that. And I'm like, that's like, cool, I'm breaking out of like the norm that I was like, from my normal audience that I would usually have. It's like, it's finally breaking out into a bunch of different places and people. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, and I have so many people every single day. I have like hundreds of DMs from people like, please do a European tour. And we need you over here in Germany. We need you in Poland. I don't know, like all these crazy places that I would never even imagine that I could go to, you know, also like Russia as well. And I just think that that's crazy. And the song that started, I guess, like blowing me up a little bit again on TikTok, which is You Are My Star, is a song I literally like freestyled that in like 30 minutes. I didn't know if it was gonna do good or not. I was kind of scared to drop it. Ended up getting over 1 million streams in less than a month, and everything I feel like is just kind of happening the way that it needs to be happening. And I'm just like super, super, super focused on myself right now and my career and my life, and I only want good things, and I try not to carry negativity in my heart for anything or anyone. I'm just trying to focus on like my future. That's all I think about all the time.
When you were going through that rough patch, was that around the same time where you kind of dropped your dad from being your manager?
Yeah.
Estabas contando about that earlier.
Yeah, it was. And I just think that like, if anybody who's like watching this, like you're a teenage girl or a young adult, sometimes, you know, it gets hard with your dad, like, especially, like, when boys become part of the picture, you're growing up, and they kind of, like, can't really accept that. And I just think it was kind of hard to have him be, like, my dad, and then, oh, this is just strictly business. You know what I mean? It was very hard. And there was a point where I was just, like, everything kind of felt, like, too much like business, and I just wanted my dad back. Like, I just wanted to, like, mess around with him again and just, like, make jokes and have fun with him and not take everything so like you know, because he used to be on my ass. I'm not gonna lie. There would be times where I like would not want to post or I wouldn't want to do certain things. He'd be like, you need to post this, you need to promote this, you need to do this, and I just wouldn't want to do it. I don't like when people tell me what to do it either. So like I just wouldn't want to do it. And then especially the fact that he was my dad, it's different than if he were like a stranger, like that I'm not related to, telling me to do this, you know, like it was different because he's my dad. So a part of me also kind of like wanted to rebel in a way, and I just didn't want to listen to him. And it just made our relationship a little bit like rocky, and I would never want to go back to that time because I love having my dad as just like my dad. Yeah. And if he ever wanted to step in and be my manager again, obviously who more to trust than my dad, but I just think we both don't want that because I love having him as my dad and he loves having me as just his daughter. And I told my dad too, I'm like, I don't even need a manager right now unless I like freaking blow up overnight and things get crazy, you know? So he's
on standby.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think we're both like enjoying it though more because mixing family with business is just always like.
And I feel like sometimes too, I feel like when you do mix family and business, it gets to the point where like he starts maybe he was getting to the point where he was like, oh, I want this for her career, but also thinking what he wants for his daughter.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it just gets kind of tricky because you as an adult, you're like, okay, I have this vision of what I want for me, of how I want my career to play out. And he has that vision, but he also has that vision as a dad.
Right.
So, you know, obviamente, I think it's for the best. You know, during that time that you were taking that break, did you ever, you know, talk to your parents or people around you, like maybe not wanting to do social media or even sing anymore? Did you ever be like, oh, I want to change my whole career completely?
Yeah, I had a conversation with one of my friends actually recently before all of this started happening, because I think the worst thing that can happen to someone who is so bright and has big dreams is to feel hopeless. When you lose hope, that is when you will come crashing down because, man, like everything just got shitty after I really just stopped believing in myself. Like now I understand why my dad kept me the way he kept me because I couldn't do it on my own, you know? And I was just falling into such a deep depression and I was like, you know what? Like music doesn't satisfy me anymore. Like I don't even want to be famous. Like I don't care about clout. Like all these things got to my head. And I was speaking with one of my friends and I was like, maybe I just want to like have kids and just be a stay-at-home mom and kind of just like settle down and not be famous, not worry about having to stay relevant all the time, being on social media. And I really just wanted to disappear. Like I wanted to delete all socials, go into fucking a nature retreat, and then eventually like hopefully, you know, to have kids and just kind of like settle down and just live that kind of lifestyle. I was really set on this mentality because I had lost hope and I just stopped believing in myself, and I was like, wow, like this is what it feels like to kind of like just be so deep like in your darkest thoughts and stuff. And like I said, music didn't bring me happiness. Nothing brought me happiness, I don't think, like at all. You can even ask my parents. They hated seeing me during that time because I was just so like sad all the time. And you could tell, like, you could just see it in my fucking face. Like I was miserable. And I was so set on that mentality. And then when all this stuff started happening, it was just like an abundance of love and overwhelmingly positive energy. And all of that only happened because I was pouring into my own cup. Yeah. Finally, I stopped prioritizing relationships that weren't good for me. I stopped prioritizing like always wanting to be out with my friends. I stopped prioritizing things that basically didn't matter as much. And I just started pouring into my own cup. And then the universe was like, okay, like now this is what I'm going to give you in return. And I don't know, like I still sometimes feel like my life is crazy. It doesn't feel real. And I don't even know, like, and I just think it's so weird because ever since I was younger, I always felt like I just had a bigger purpose. Like I don't want to be an artist to just like, to be famous or because of clout or money. Like I don't do it for that. I do it for people like who need someone like me, but they just don't have that. Yeah. And I have a lot of fans, you know, kids, even teenagers that will text me like, oh, like you saved me from suicide and all these, they'll write paragraphs. And that just made me cry before, like bad. Cause I'm like, you don't know what people are going through, like truly to the core. And some people are just have some fucked up living situations. And for me to be like, I guess some sort of like safe haven for them, I'm like, wow, like it hits deep because I know these are real people behind the screens because I've been a consumer and now I'm on the other side. Now I'm the artist and I have people that support me and love me and they want me to text them back and they want me to notice them and I know what that feels like. So I just feel like my goal is to just be like the most genuine artist I could be. I know I'm not the best. I know like all that stuff, but I just want to be the most genuine artist that has ever been because I just think we need more of that like in the world, you know?
And I feel like, you know, you're going to be that artist, not just for the people that already watch you, but for so many more that are going to come after, you know? And I'm glad that you didn't let this like rough patch really take you away from this stream that you've been working on for so long. Ya para terminar esta entrevista, which I've loved because I know allá muchos en casita te pudieron conocer un poquito más. We're going to finish it off with the question that I always love finishing it with. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, whether that's professionally, career-wise, personal-wise? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
I feel like that's a hard question because you just never know what could happen for real. Like, maybe I might like be a mom within the next 5 years, or maybe I might be like a super famous artist. Like, I genuinely don't know what's gonna happen. All I know is that I just hope I'm not suffering or struggling with anything. You know, I hope that my life is just continuously just gets better and there's nothing specific that I could say that I see myself doing. It's just life is crazy and things happen all the time and I don't know the future. I really don't know. Like I said, I just hope whatever it is that happens, it just gets better and that's pretty much it.
And I know every dream along the way in these next 5 years that you have, tú los vas a hacer realidad. Ya para terminar esta entrevista, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time and sitting aquí con nosotros. Y también muchas gracias a todos los que nos están escuchando ahorita. With that being said, amigas, no se les olvide seguir a JAYROXXX on all her social medias, which I'll leave down below, as well as on the screen right now. Y no se les olvide seguirme a mí para que no se pierdan any future episodes. And with that being said, amigas, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I feel like I was kind of like mostly serious in this interview. But most of the time I'm just like fucking around. So if you guys, you know, ever join my lives and everything, you guys see my videos, I just like to have fun because as serious as I am, life is also not that deep. So yeah.
Yes. And thank you guys so much for watching and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.